have any guests tonight. At least we shouldn't have any guests tonight. So we'll go ahead and just remind everybody, please silence your phones. We're going to get ready for a great training tonight. I know we got a few people going to do some incredible training. So we'll go ahead and have everyone grab a seat and get this thing going. We'll go ahead and get started with announcements, and then we'll jump into the training. But let's start off with getting these seats filled. Let's start with points. So in third place on points, we got Kenneth Easley, which I think is Logan, right? Yeah. Logan Easley, out in Idaho. So let's give him a round of applause. And then number 2, we got Debbie Youngkin, who is here with us tonight. And then number 1, we got Jace Nilsson, who I don't see tonight. He's sick. He's sick?
That's what they all say.
Well, I know it's been going around because I know I've been dealt with it a little bit too. So I'm still just trying to get my voice back. So Debbie, let's have you come on up and bring your husband. Woo. Yep, right here. And then for top recruiter, we got a 2-way tie with Lewis England and Carson Peck. Where's Lewis at?
Idaho.
Montana. Give them a round of applause. I know I saw Carson around here early. There he is.
I'm here. I'll hang out.
Okay.
I'll hang out here.
All right. I was gonna say I saw you with somebody, so I wasn't sure.
Hey Jim, no reclining in that. You fall asleep.
I can fall asleep in any position.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and we'll go. We got no guests again tonight, so we'll have some recognition for fast start and then promotion. So I'm gonna have Tosh and Mike come up, and they got a few to take care of. So let them handle that.
Okay. I'm going to do this real quick because it goes along with that. So newly licensed. Lewis England also just got his license. He went and passed it, and I didn't even know he was taking it. So way to go, Lewis.
Is he here?
He's Montana.
He's Montana, so it's a little bit of a drive for him.
Too much snow.
So we got a couple. We actually have a couple that did their fast start together. They are online. Justin and Timbra aren't. Aren't.
I'm probably butchering it too.
Either one, it's still their same first name. So Justin and Timbra out in Colorado took care of their fast start, and they're well on their way to the smart start. So congratulations. And we have Charmaine Blaine. So she is out in Alaska as well too. She just knocked out her first promotion with the 3 training cells to the 30% contract. So she's ready to go too.
Okay. We have a special promotion tonight. We're very excited. So for those of you that are fairly new, you know top contract is called partner. Partner's that 70% contract. And we have our newest partner right at the end of 2022 coming in. We want to give a standing ovation. We're very, very excited to Debbie Youngkin. Congratulations, Debbie. That is a much hard accomplished promotion for her. So she has been after it, and you guys, it is very cool to hear her story. One day we'll have her share it because, I don't know, 2 years ago-ish, she was in our office saying, you know, I don't know what's holding me here, but I need to be here. I'm supposed to be here. And she was like, but I can't, like, I don't have anybody else to talk to. I don't know what to do. And she was in tears, I remember. And look at her now, you know, you just stay after it. You stay focused, and you never know what's going to happen. So we're proud of you.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I got something I didn't turn it into the big one.
Too late.
Unless it's me.
So, I too got a pretty aggressive team that's getting after it. I just want to give a shout out to Eric Victor. He calls me right on Christmas Day and says, I got it. I got my 20. And I'm like, you did? He goes, yeah. I said, I got to confirm it. So I had to call the trainer who did it. He said, yep, he got 2 appointments. So Eric Victor, congratulations. He got his 20 and 30. And a promotion.
Love that. Love that. And Debbie sadly is in her last time getting to sit in the chair because now she's a partner. She doesn't get to participate anymore. But it's fitting. It's fitting. Let's see. Couple quick announcements. We got a contest running that goes through May, the end of May. Started at the beginning of December to Estes Park, Colorado. I've never been, but from what I hear, my mom's been. You don't want to miss this, guys. It's going to be an incredible trip. You got to get 80,000 points personally, or it was 160 as a team. And it's a 50-50 rule on the team. And then you can get points for recruits. So if you get per recruit is 5,000 points. So if you really want to get aggressive towards it, you can get it through just recruiting. And I can promise you, if you push to get the contest through just recruiting, you're gonna have a lot of points following as well. So push hard, and it's absolutely winnable for anybody in this room and anybody getting started now and even for the next little while. So definitely keep pushing for it, but don't wait. You gotta get things moving now if you wanna win. We do have, let's see, we got some extra training on our back office. You can jump on there and access any of the trainings we do on Thursday nights, stuff like that later as well. So make sure if you have any extra training you want to do, make sure you jump on there. We do have our new E&O coverage is getting set up and getting ready to, looks like it's being emailed out for the new year because that's coming, the E&O is coming to an end. So those that are licensed, make sure you renew that E&O. Otherwise you're not going to be able to be paid.
Everyone's going to be you'll start receiving emails saying your E&O needs to be, we know that. They haven't given us the new form yet. It's been paid for. We have not received the new form. As soon as we have that, we'll email it out to you. And you can post it on your shirts page.
Okay, perfect.
So you do not need to re-sign up. If you're already on E&O, it will continue to draft through the year. Don't sign up again. That will make you continue.
Okay, yeah, so for those that don't hear Rod said, don't sign up again, it'll automatically continue to renew. Just make sure when you get that new certificate, you upload it to Assurance Bay so you have a current E&O up there. Make sure you are getting registered for convention. Convention prices is $150 right now per person or $250 a couple, and that price will jump on the beginning of February. So make sure you get registered today or before February so you don't get the price jump. And then as far as the new recruits, anybody getting new recruits starting January 1st, the price will jump to $199 instead of $149. That's because we have $150. But that's because we have a CRM is being built out and things like that as well. That's going to be incredible for tracking stuff like that. It's going to come along with it. Those that are already signed up and a part of the company, you don't have to pay the extra $50. We will get that CRM. And then I believe we're doing a piece of swag as well that's going to be like a shirt or something like that when they sign up as well, starting in January. So if you got anybody that's on the hook, ready to go, and they're saying, hey, I'll get started at the beginning of the year, get them started now. Say, hey, look, I'm just trying to save you $50. Get started now, and we get things moving at the beginning of the year, but get started before January 1st. If you get any renewing your license, make sure you get a new copy or get the new license, a copy to admin at My Common Sense, so you can get paid. And I believe that goes for any state you're renewing in as well, right? Not just your residence. Any state you renew your license in, make sure you send a copy to admin so you can get paid. Otherwise, you're gonna miss out. We don't want you missing out. So, and then if you move, make sure you fill out a W-9 with your current address. That way, anytime when we do taxes, especially with taxes coming up in the next few months, you want your statement to be sent to the right place. So make sure you update your address if you move. With that, we're gonna go ahead and get started. You want me to do this first, correct? So before we have anybody get trained, I found this song a few weeks ago, and my mom wanted me to make sure we share it tonight because I think it's an incredible song. So I think Rod's ready to cue up for us.
When we were kids in the backyard, playing astronauts and rock stars, no one told us to stop it, called us unrealistic. Then suddenly you're 18, go to college for your plan B. What you want is too risky, live for weekends and whiskey. We all got these big ideas, one day they're replaced with fear. How did we get here? Darling, don't quit your daydream. It's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Why save it for sleep when you could be living your daydream? 31 waiting tables, she has the voice of an angel, out of money and power. She only sings in the shower. All these things we say we'll get to, shot down by the reasons not to. Darling, don't quit your daydream. It's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Why save it for sleep when you could be living your daydream? So scared of failure that we fail to try, turning around before the finish line. Gotta fall for a minute before you can fly. So daydream, it's your life that you're making. It ain't big enough if it doesn't scare the hell out of you. If it makes you nervous, it's probably worth it. Or save it for sleep when you could be living your daydream. Why save it for sleep when you should be living your daydream?
The words. It's incredible and it's so true. Why would we waste our lives just letting them pass by and dreaming of what our life could be rather than going and making it happen and living that dream? So without further ado, I'm going to bring up the first person training tonight. Anyone that was a Top Gun knows he did an incredible job, and anyone that's seen him train knows he does an incredible job. Got an incredible background in the military and uses that to his advantage in a lot of ways, and I love listening to him train because it's so matter of fact and just tells you the way it is, and there's no way you can hide behind it. So, without further ado, we'll bring up Chase Comby.
All right. Well, first, I want to start off by saying there's a reason why I'm in this Y shirt. And that's because I qualified for Y, but I know a lot of you didn't. This is my only time to rub it in. Because I probably won't see you till we leave in February. So we're going to talk about goal setting a little bit. So there's a lot of different ways to goal set. A lot of different ways to goal set. And I'm not huge on like exact schematics, so I'm not going to talk about that specifically with you guys. But I do believe you got to do schematically what makes sense to you. Okay? So with that being said, right, like you're going to write down a goal. Obviously, you've got to write down a goal. You got to put a date next to it, right? You got to follow through with that. But what I want to talk about most importantly is behind whatever that goal is. Okay? Because here's the problem. How many people here have set a goal or have set a lot of goals to only never accomplish any of them? Most people here, right? So here's kind of my philosophy behind this. I should be able to hit probably about 80% of the goals I set and not on the other 20%. All right? And here's my logic and my reasoning behind this, okay? Because if I set goals that I accomplish 100% of, did I set goals big enough? No. Probably not, right? But if I set goals that are too big, that I don't even, they're just so far out there that I'm like, why even bother and try, right? That may actually hinder my progress as opposed to help my progress, right? So I try to go by the 80-20 rule whenever I set my goals as like, okay, I'm pretty sure there's an 80% chance I can hit this, but it's probably gonna stretch me a little bit, okay? Now here's the number one point I wanna talk about, okay? And this is gonna be a little different than probably what you guys have heard because I'm a little bit more realistic than most people and I don't care about your feelings. Do not trust your emotions. Number one thing, do not trust your emotions. Why do I say that? Because your current emotions are programmed to keep you in your current place, right? So, why do you always hear that saying of like, okay, you've got to be uncomfortable? Because your current emotions are going to try to dictate you into what you are already doing. So, if you're trying to hit a goal and you feel uncomfortable about it, you feel nervous about it, you don't like necessarily having to do everything that you need to do, you're probably on the right track. Okay? Like that song just said, if you hear this little pitter patter, okay, that's what you want. That's what you want. Okay? Right? So, I'll give a little bit of story about one of my times in Ranger School. So the first day we get to Ranger School and they sit us down and they say, okay, here's just the facts of life, all right? 90% of you are gonna drop out. Just up front. Because either A, can't pass your physical PT, which gets most people, surprisingly, or B, a lot of injuries that you can't necessarily anticipate. But let me tell you what you're gonna feel, and you know you're gonna feel right when you're going through it, because that's how you're gonna experience it. You are going to hate every second of this. None of this will be fun for you, all right? You are going to lose a lot of weight very, very quickly. You are going to feel like you're basically a trash panda or a human monkey because of your living conditions, and you're gonna feel down and degraded. But then after this, you're gonna walk away and you'll have something to your name, okay? So during this process, right, you understand like, okay, like none of this sounds fun. None of this sounds enjoyable, okay? Who here has done a week straight with only 1 meal a day where you get an average of 2 hours of sleep a night? It's not fun, let me tell you, right now, okay? But did that inch me more towards the goal? Absolutely, okay? So when you are setting your goals, if you expect this to be a joyous ride into the sunset, I'm going to tell you right now, you are very, very mistaken, okay? So, do not trust your emotions. In fact, you want those negative emotions to start like kind of pouring out of you. Like if you catch yourself saying like, oh, this sucks, okay, cool, you're on the right track. Day one, okay? All right, number 2, okay, clarity, right? If you are not clear about what you're going after and what you're attacking, how can you ever get there, okay? And I will add this to the caveat of the first one, clarity about what emotions you're gonna feel like during this time period, okay? Who has ever set a goal to wake up early in the morning to go to the gym? Okay. How many of you cave on that after like the 5th day or the 4th day? Right? 99% of people, right? Like, it's gonna happen. January 1st rolls around, right as the Sundays, everybody's gonna be hitting it January 2nd. It's gonna be a big show for about the first 2 weeks, right? And then it just sharply declines to nothing, right? The reason being is people will set the goal of, hey, I'm gonna go hit the gym every day at this time or whatever it ends up being, right? But they never realistically and clearly look at what are the emotions I'm probably going to feel between them. Am I going to feel like doing it? No one feels like doing it every day, right? Sometimes you're gonna feel motivated, so you can write that down. Sometimes you're gonna be like, oh, okay, whatever, you know? So if you write down your emotions that you can anticipate feeling beforehand, it's gonna make it a lot easier for you to actually follow through. Because if I write down, hey, look, I'm gonna wake up really early, I'm gonna go hit the gym, I'm gonna wake up at 5 o'clock every day. Hey, I know I'm not gonna be loving this. It's just a fact of life. Because if I loved it, I wouldn't be writing this goal down because I'd already be doing it, right? So you have to like work your way into loving it, okay? Same goes with business, same goes with money, same goes with everything. Same but different, right? So when we make a goal of, hey, maybe we wanna earn a set amount of income, okay, what do we believe that's gonna require of us, right? We gotta write that down. Write down an action plan. And then write down the associating emotions that we're gonna feel with that. Why do most people quit this business? Why do you think? Tasha, why do you think?
They get in their own head, they get in their own way.
They get too emotional, right? They trust their emotions when those emotions are associated with like a $50,000 a year salary, right? So everything to them feels very uncomfortable, feels very abnormal. And so they're like, ooh, this just doesn't feel right. Well, no crap, it doesn't feel right because you're used to being broke as hell, right? So, you know, you gotta upgrade that, okay? So, clarity on your purpose, right? Hey, why am I attacking this goal? What is it gonna get me? What are the rewards out of this? And what emotions are gonna feed into this, okay? And you really should like, kind of back to that 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you should be okay with it, but you've gotta be good with sitting in that 20% of absolute misery and woe, right? Like, who here loves taking appointments from like 6 to 9 o'clock at night? I don't. Does it matter? Does it freaking matter? No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. You either do it or you don't do it. It's not about the freaking feeling. It's that you go out there like a professional and you get it done, okay? So, that's you know, a couple points there. All right, number 3rd, all right, and this kind of ties way in. And I actually think this kills more people in their dreams than anything else. Sheer boredom. Okay? Like, legitimately, right? Because most of these goals, like when you set it, right, like tonight you guys are gonna be like, oh man, I'm freaking amped, let's go, baby, let's go, right? Okay, cool, that's an emotion, so it's gonna last, you know, probably tonight, but tomorrow morning you're gonna wake up, you're gonna feel a different emotion. Things are gonna be different. So once you start feeling that, okay, you understand, hey, look, okay, what goes into being a competent professional that can write good business, recruit good people, and build a team? Right? Well, I gotta know my numbers. Well, I gotta know how to talk to people. Well, I gotta do appointments. All this stuff, like the good thing about this business is it's very easily duplicatable. The downside to this business is it can be incredibly boring if you're doing it correctly. Time after time after time after time after time after time after time. And the problem is, most of you, if we're going purely statistics here, 95% of you will walk out and do literally nothing with what I say. There will be 5% that do something about it, and that 5% will have success because they are willing to take on the boredom of it, okay? Especially after you've started doing the initial piece, okay? Right? Because mastery comes over time, right? You guys have heard of like that 10,000 hour rule, right? That applies, but at the same time, like understand, like the guy that's going from hours 8,000 to 10,000, his margin of like increase in skill is minute, like extremely minute, right? So his ability to withstand the boredom of doing the same thing every single day to such a level of expertise is just there. So you guys have to understand, if you're like, dude, I don't know if I want to do this, that's exactly when you got to do it, and that's when you got to do it. But here's the cool part. That's where the money is, right? And I'll tell you what, there's no easier deal to write than the deal where you're like, I just don't care and I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do the paperwork. Scott's laughing because he knows, right? You work hard enough, you work fast enough, you just get to the point where you're like, whatever, it's just another meeting. I'm just helping another guy. Let's go. Let's get it done, okay? Once you've hit that level of like not caring is when you'll have the most amount of success. Promise you guys. That's a big one, okay? All right, so the last little piece to this of my points is urgency, which I actually think is like the biggest one, okay? Now, I do write dates down next to my goals, I'm gonna be honest with you. But I very, very rarely focus on the date as opposed to trying to get as much freaking done as I humanly can, okay? Because I think too many times we try to like, I don't know how to put this in an easy way, but we try to manage time when really we should be squeezing the ever-living life out of it, okay? Right? Taking every second that you possibly can and saying, okay, how can I take advantage of this? Where can I win within the margins of my life? All right? I've been very successful in multiple disciplines, and this is where I get people. This is where I overtake them, okay? Because here's the thing, right? I'm not wasting much time in my day, right? So when I'm driving, I'm making phone calls, or I'm listening to a podcast or a book, right? I'm setting up appointments for the next day, right? So, in a recent study that just came out with, and this wasn't too many people, but it was a little over 200 millionaires that they polled, and they asked them, hey, look, like, what's the average amount of work that you guys do in a week, right? Like, if you had to break it down to an hour, like an hour amount, what would it be, okay? Now, obviously, right, there's some outliers either way, but the average amount of time was 52 hours, okay? So if you're working 5 days a week, how many hours a week or hours a day is that?
10.
10.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good amount of time, right? I don't even know if most of us are working 10 hours a day in this job, right? But with that being said, right, you need to start evaluating and self-critiquing when you are working, how effectively are you working, okay? Every business can be drilled down to a few things that make money, okay? And then the rest is fluff, right? oftentimes we do not fill ourselves up enough with things that make money, so we will deviate to the fluff because it's easy and it makes you feel all good and happy inside, right? And remember, I want you to permeate in the darkness. Okay? So, what are those things? Appointments, sales calls, writing deals, right? Training other people, right? And realistically, you should just be doing the whole thing with somebody else, so you're always training someone, inevitably, right? How many things is that? 3. Okay? Now, yes, we can get onto like maybe like a little bit more of a nuance of like, okay, cool, are we making perfect plans for people? Cool, good, like you should be making good plans no matter what. But here's the reality. If your plan is like 3% better, but you ended up spending 15 hours making that plan perfect, are you wasting your time or are you being productive with your time? You are wasting it massively, right? Because here's the reality. How many plans don't change in 5 years? They all do, because everybody's situation is going to change. So here's the thing. You put together the plan, you should be good enough to run numbers in 10 to 15 minutes, unless it's very nuanced, right? And then move on, right? It's easy. It's all very, very easy, okay? Now understand, like, sometimes people don't want to focus on the how of things, but I kind of want you to, in a way that's conducive for you to make shifts and changes. So I will make big goals for the year, but I am reviewing those goals. I actually break everything down into 12-week increments, okay? So every 12 weeks I'm reviewing, hey, where am I at? What do I need to shift? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to change, right? So my goals are always evolving and changing, right? Because the reality is, how many of you guys here are going to make a goal for this next year and then stick with that goal? It's probably going to change, right? So you probably need to be reevaluating it, okay? And you have to start off with a plan of attack no matter how you dice things, right? Because we cannot expect to do the same things over and over and expect different results. If you're only doing 3 appointments a week and you're like, oh man, guess what? That 3 appointments is maybe leading to a deal every 2 weeks. I need to understand and have enough self-knowledge to say, okay, I may not be a great closer, but what I can do is up my appointments, and if my appointments are higher, I can still close a deal a week, right? So I need to double my amount of appointments. You might be a guy that's the reverse. It's like, hey, look, I do 3, I close 2. Easy. Well, sweet, okay. Now your job is to maybe fit in another 2 or 3 a week, right? So you have to start breaking things down more methodically, okay? A book I'm gonna recommend for you guys, because I'm getting numbers, The Slight Edge, if you guys have ever heard of that and don't know the author. That is something I want you guys more to focus on, and that's something that I've focused on a lot throughout my life, which I think is a lot better.
Jeff Olson.
Jeff Olson? Okay, cool. Very, very good book. Because here's the thing too, right? A lot of this stuff, I'm kind of throwing out a lot of different ideas here, but I think it's all good and relevant. Tom Brady does not focus on games won or championships played, okay? Do you know what he focuses on? Ball delivery. He focuses on speed of ball delivery. That's his big focus, right? So he's saying, hey, it's taking me 2.8 seconds to deliver that ball out of the pocket once I step back, or whatever that number is. His goal is to actually be shorter, right? So he's not necessarily focused on winning the game. He's focusing on those specifics. Do the same in your own business. Do the same in your own life. That's all I got for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Chase. That was awesome. I got a ton of notes out of it. I'm not going to take too much time. I'm just going to bring up the next person training. This is somebody I look up to a ton. Kind of grew up with this person as well. But no, she's been an incredible example of how to just take this business take the bull by the horns, if you will, just run with it and be incredibly successful. And so, without further ado, I'm going to bring up Tosh Marchetti.
You guys feel like we could just end the meeting? I think Chase did an awesome delivery. You know, hopefully you guys got a bunch of notes that you're gonna actually take and run with and apply. So I'm gonna actually start with a couple things from this book. This book is called "All You Can Do Is All You Can Do, but All You Can Do Is Enough." It's by Art Williams. It's actually really hard to find the original copy, but I think you can find like digital versions. But in here, he talks about the phases that people go through in their business. And it's any business, right? It's all the same principles. I would say anything that you're going to do well at or succeed at, it's all the same principles. But in here, he talks about the 3 stages. And as I'm going through this, I want you guys to kind of assess what stage maybe you're in, or if the stages maybe if you have hit them already, and if you've cycled through them. But here we go, we're gonna read it. So the first stage is the lying stage. Deep down, you aren't sure you can do it, but you can't admit that to anyone, not even yourself. For the first few months, you lie to everybody you know. You just lie and lie and lie. You act excited and pumped up about every opportunity, some idea, or some turn of events that encourages you and makes you feel like, makes you walk 3 feet off the floor. You tell your spouse, honey, I always knew you married a winner. Just get ready, we're gonna go on the up now. I found my thing, I found my place in life. You tell your mom and dad and all your relatives how you're going to make them proud of you. You tell your friends watch your smoke. You're really getting there and you're gonna really make something great happen. But then it happens. You go home at night, you go in the bathroom and close the door. You walk across the room and look in the mirror, bam, it hits you right across the face like a cold rag. You look at the person in the mirror and you say to yourself, who are you kidding? Do you think somebody who looks like you is gonna make it? What have you ever done in your life? Why don't you just admit that no one as ordinary as you can be a big success? Then you crawl in bed and you wanna go to sleep so badly you can't stand it. Your spouse is over there snoring and your eyes are as big as baseballs. You wanna make it so badly you're just burning up inside. You stare at the ceiling and hope you can survive 1 more week, but you can't hope your way to the top. First stage. Second stage, the quitting stage. Once you're through the lying stage, you enter the second stage, the quitting stage. You've gone out and paid a fantastic price or 2, 3, maybe 5 months. Then you lose a client or you hear a stirring of no's. You start saying, I've had it, I'm sick and tired of this, I'm gonna go and get a good job. You go out for 2 or 3 days and look around, maybe go to a few interviews. Then the realization hits you. There aren't any good jobs for people who want to be somebody. So you say to yourself, well, I thought I was working hard. I thought I was committed, but I wasn't. I'm never going to see myself this low again. I'll do it this time no matter what. You go out there, you work even harder for a few months. Then you find a good prospect and one of the plans blows up in your face. You say, I'm sick of this. I'm going to get a good job and quit beating my head against the wall. But once again, you find out that the great opportunity you want just doesn't exist out there in the corporate world. So you say, I guess there aren't any good jobs in this country for people who look like me. I'm so sick of feeling like this and having financial troubles and seeing other people get ahead. I can't stand it. Right now, I'm gonna start all over. I'll work 3 times as hard. You're looking at one dude who's going to the top. And then you hit the third stage, the do it stage. All of a sudden, you get through the quitting stage. You make the final commitment, the one that really counts. Now you're on the road to greatness. Don't expect to recognize when you finally enter the commitment stage. You probably won't even realize that you've made that final commitment for 60 to 90 days, when the result of your commitment starts to show. This may sound silly to you, but I promise you it's going to happen. The 3 stages are as real as rain. Recognize the lying stage and the quitting stage as normal. Which I think is honestly very important, because just know that you're gonna go through this like multiple times. It's not like you get through one and you never hit it again. That's what growth is all about. You go through the stages and the quicker you can embrace that growth and that development, the faster you're gonna get through it. But the beauty is you've already gone through it because you're here today. You've already gone through at least one of those stages because you're here today. So embrace when you go through it, and like Chase said, look at it as normal. You're supposed to go through it. If it was easy, everybody would do it and everyone would be a millionaire. It's not. Now, I'll tell you this, it's way easier than probably any other corporate job you're going to punch a time clock with for the next 40 years or 40 years of your life. And you're going to get a way better result than you're ever going to get anywhere else. But you have to be willing to do the things most people aren't willing to do and suck it up. You have to be willing to do the hard stuff and make the calls. You have to be willing to get faced with some of the people that are going to laugh in your face and tell you you should go do something else. The people that are going to tell you no and not believe in you, because you're going to have a lot of that stuff. In fact, you'll have more of it than you will people believing in you. But there's going to be plenty that do believe in you, and plenty that follow you, and plenty that you impact, and a lot of them you're not even going to recognize and realize that you're impacting. Look, you guys, I did 112 meetings and got not one single yes. My very first run on my own, I'm zeroed in, I'm after it, I did 112. Now, I'll tell you right now, it could be 113 or 14, I don't really know. I was stopped counting. I don't really know what one changed it all for me. It was just the best advice I ever got was it'll break if you keep working it, so stay after it. There was no, here's what you're missing, here's the magic pill, here's the thing that you're not doing, here's the light bulb that you've been missing. Like, there was no secret. I remember sitting in my dad's office and he was like, I don't know what to tell you. It'll break one day. Just keep going. Which was the suckiest advice I've ever gotten in that moment. You know, that's the last thing you want to hear in that moment, but it's the only thing that's real. And if your trainer's saying something to you that kind of hits your core and you're like, man, that's kind of rude. That's their job. Their job is not to fight for your excuses. Their job is to fight for the reasons that you can win and give it to you straight so they can get you through it quicker. But it's your job to actually take it and run with it and do something with it. He can't do it for you, but will absolutely be there every step of the way to get you through it. I think, you know, think back on all of the people in life that you admire. It could be like a big name. It could be somebody in your life. It could be somebody that's hit, you know, a certain layer of success that you admire. But why are we so in awe of these people? You know, like, do you ever think about, like, what makes them different? What makes them stand out? I think we put them on this pedestal and we assume that they're different and they've accomplished something different and they've got this different gene. When in reality, we admire them because we desire so badly to succeed at some kind of level like that. And we forget to realize that up until the moment of when we're seeing them, they hit those same quitting stages. They hit those same struggles and disbelief in themselves. And the only thing that's different from them and you is that they kept going and they were willing to continue to fight for it. I think most people give up, and that's what sucks them into normalcy. And everyone says, oh, you got to be like this extra special person. You got to have this certain personality. That is such crap. If you needed a special personality, I certainly wouldn't be here because I'm an introvert. Okay, it took me 2 years to do anything on my own. I was shadowing my dad. I took 45 minutes to make my first phone call because I was so nervous. And by the way, I didn't even make the call. My dad came around and pressed the phone call for me and held it up to my ear, and I had to stumble through it. But without all of that, you don't grow into being able to hold the success that you're going to build. You have to be able to hold it. You can't hold it without the growth. And I think we get caught up in being relatable. Everybody gets caught up in being relatable. You want to be relatable to people. And instead of thinking about what's coming out of our mouth and how relatable we can be to that person, we need to start thinking about how we can stand out, impact them, leave a legacy, and be different. And I think, honestly, one of I think social media has two amazing sides, but the side I hate is the relatability. I think everyone wants to be so relatable and so real. That doesn't inspire anyone. Being relatable like everybody else isn't going to inspire anyone, and it's definitely not going to fuel your fire of your dreams. Go be different. Go be stand out. And the only way that you're going to do that is the day-to-day, like Chase was talking about, the monotonous activity that sometimes just feels like it's just going through the motions. It's not going to be enjoyable all the time. And somebody that says, this is a phrase, and I don't know about how you guys feel about this, but I absolutely hate this phrase. You'll never work a day in your life if you do what you love. That is crap. Okay? And the reason it's crap is I love what we do, but you're going to feel like you've got days where you're just going through the motions. You're burnt out. You're not getting the results you want. You're tired. You're running on almost no sleep. You've got a to-do list that you can never catch up on. You're going to feel that way. But pressure is privilege. Embrace embrace that pressure and say, the person that I was when I first got started was begging for this pressure and these problems. That's exactly where you want to be. So you embrace them and realize it's not always going to be fun. But I will tell you it's worth it. And when you take a step back and you analyze what you've accomplished and you analyze the gratitude and you look at all the things that are working for you, then you start to really focus on the good of it. You do need to catch yourself in those cycles, but focus on the good and catch yourself in those, obviously writing down the gratitude, and you'll flip it very quickly. But know that it's normal to not always feel so grateful all the time. I think that we get stuck, there's this phrase that I love in like all of these audios, and maybe I'm picking it out because I've been hearing it, but I love it. And he's like, we need to, people need to stop being volunteer victims. We get stuck in being volunteer victims. Like we fight for our excuses rather than our dreams, and we want to be victims because it's easier in our mind instead of pushing past that comfort zone. The longer you stay in that volunteer victim state, the longer it's going to be till you obviously break through and actually succeed at a major way. And sometimes you'll talk yourself right into living the rest of your life that way. You have to be careful with catching yourself on that. But here's what I got to tell you is money's not going to solve your problems. Money doesn't solve everything. It's just that people don't care about your problems when you make money. If you're making money, people don't care about any problems that you have because they're stuck in feeling like, well, if I had this, then I wouldn't be struggling with this. It's a different layer and set of problems. Now, are the problems easier? Absolutely. I do genuinely believe the problems are easier when you've got the bank account to match it. But you're not going to get there until you switch your frame of mind, because money doesn't solve your problems. It helps you learn to overcome them. But you can't get that without developing yourself. I got to tell you about our work schedule, because Chase made a really good point when he talked about, the hours that you put in and what it really looks like. And I want you guys to really analyze our comp plan. Anyone that's going to walk into Mike and I's schedule throughout the week, Monday through Thursday, it probably would feel overwhelming. But we grew into that, okay? We didn't walk into it just day one. We grew into running the schedule that we run. But we only work, you guys, Monday through Thursday. We don't work Friday. We only work like 3 hours on Saturday because of training and stuff. We don't work Sundays. So we work Monday through Thursday. Now we take full advantage of those hours Monday through Thursday, and as much time as we need to work, we're working it. I mean, we are opening the office, closing the office most days. We don't leave here usually till 11 or midnight. We are taking full advantage of Monday through Thursday because we realize that's the time we're allocating. But it builds a lifestyle where I realize most people would trade us places in a heartbeat. I know that, and I realize that we're very blessed. But it didn't fall in our lap. We had to work our butts off to get it done. And I will tell you this too. People see how hard we work, but you guys, we traveled. We counted. We took like 10 trips this year. Okay, we traveled like crazy too. We have a lifestyle that is absolutely the American dream. We're choosing our schedule. We're choosing when we want to work, how much we want to work, when we want to travel. If we want to just up and leave, we choose to up and leave. You get to have that freedom, but it comes at paying the price first. Oftentimes we try and live the self-employed lifestyle too early. Don't reward yourself falsely. Go earn it and then reward yourself. I'm going to tell you this. In 2017, Mike and I made 19 grand in total. And I had been in business for 5 years. Now, we had launched Common Sense Financial at that time, so I'd gone through a couple different business changes and stuff like that. But you also have to know I came with no life experience, right? This was my life experience. 18 years old, never went to college, worked at a couple restaurants. I didn't really, if you call a Snow Shack a restaurant. But I didn't really, I had to learn everything from the ground up. So 2017, we made 19 grand. And we're telling everyone they can go make 6 figures, and that's how they're looking at us as we're building a team. And we have to fight that whole, I'm telling people that they can go do this, but we're still trying to get it off the ground ourselves. Well, we hit partner that year. The end of 2017 is when we ran and we qualified for the partner contract. In 2018, we made 122 grand. So it jumped past 100,000. And I tell you that because I want you to believe that you can hit 100,000 or past 100,000 or 200,000 regardless of what your current state is, because you're coming with different experience. See, who you are in the past is different than who you are today. And what you can accomplish today is different because of your learning curve. But I'm going to tell you that the ladder didn't just go, oh, well, now it's easy. The next year, we went to 120. So we were actually a little bit less the next year as we're trying to learn how to run our business on our own and the system and perfecting it. And, you know, we weren't running the perfect Taproot system yet. We were still trying to figure that out. And I would say that we're even perfect at it right now. And then in 2020, we made 170. So it increased a little bit. In 2021, we made 289. This year, we're over 400,000. And I tell you guys that because I come from 18 years old, not knowing anything. The exponential comes as you stay after it and stay consistent with it. We've made over $1 million in the last 5 years. Where else can you go and make $1 million in 5 years and continue to launch and grow? You can't go anywhere else and find that. You're not, unless it's something that you own, you're in control, but it's not going to give you an exit strategy. This is going to give you an exit strategy if you trust the process and listen to the person that's walked in your shoes, that's willing to grab you by the hand and help you do it. Stop holding on to the reasons why you're not succeeding, the poor me's, the things as to what you're lacking, and start fighting for your own dreams and your own goals and the capabilities that you do have. Take the man-made roof that you've put on yourself off and act and perform like you're an underdog. And go after it and zero in and focus and watch your life change in 12 months. And it won't even take you a full 12 months, but watch your life change and you start to believe what you can accomplish if you commit yourself to actually going out and really becoming the best version of yourself you could possibly be. What do you have to lose to fight for yourself? You have nothing to lose. And I'm going to end with this. A couple of things I want you to think of. You have the opportunity of a lifetime in the palm of your hands. And that opportunity is going to pass you by if you don't take advantage of it. And the chance to work with some of the people here, founding partners, CEOs, rub shoulders, is quickly passing. Take advantage of it and take that opportunity of a lifetime seriously. Because you're going to look back one day and wish you had or be glad that you had it. Number 1, become a dreamer again. Number 2, have a crusade. Number 3, dream big, but keep it simple. Number 4, always be positive. Number 5, treat people well. And number 6, never give up. Okay, that's all I got.
Again, incredible training. I'm lucky enough to be able to bring up the people that are training today, who most are family and one basically feels like family. So, but the next person I'm going to be bringing up holds a very special place in my heart. He is an incredible example to me on just somebody that says, "Hey, I'm gonna take that compound." We talk about compound interest in our investments and things like that, and products, and he's taken that to, you talk about that book, The Compound Effect, and that using that compound effect and compound interest to work for our lives, not just with our money, but in our lives. And he's an incredible example of applying that and just letting it work for you rather than against you. Again, before I get too emotional, I was just gonna kind of bring him up, but we'll bring up Mike Marchetti.
Rod and I just have like unspoken communication at this point. He knows what I was looking for. Well, I appreciate that, Austin. I'm already excited. Let's just finish the meeting right now, go make some phone calls, and let's make it happen, right? You guys don't need to listen to me anymore. I want to talk to you a little bit about my experience. Austin kind of ruined the surprise a little bit, I guess. But, he gave you a little bit of an insight into what I wanted to talk about here tonight. So I'm sure you guys have heard, the phrase, something changed my life, right? You've heard that tossed out and about anywhere from a movie that person saw to a meal they had, right? People love throwing that phrase around. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this compound effect idea, mainly stuff from the book, but to say that it changed my life is very much an understatement. And I think it can apply to what we want to have come across to you guys tonight in how you want 2023 to play out. Okay, if you take this idea to heart, as I did, then you're going to see yourself in a completely different space come 12 months from now. Let me make sure I'm showing the right thing. That was me yesterday after Christmas dinner. So the only way in all that is holy that I would show this to the public, right? Not only you people here, but everybody online. That was me 2018. You can obviously see that Men's Health magazine wasn't being read out there in the corner. That's why it's sitting there in the top. This was me in 2019. This was on a trip to Lake Powell. But again, the only reason that I would show these freaking pictures to you guys is because of what can happen when you apply the compound effect. That was earlier this year. I know there's a shadow on there, but that same guy. Okay, enough of that. So, I want to share a few things from there because what I wanted to accomplish was only going to happen if I gave it enough time to happen. So when they talk about the compound effect, and you hear us talk about it in our first presentation, what he says in the book actually really puts it into a perspective. So the compound effect is based on a principle I've used in my own life and training. That is, your decisions shape your destiny. The future is what you make of it. Little everyday decisions will either take you to the life you desire or to disaster by default. So not doing it also moves you in a direction you probably don't want to be, okay? So I know you guys have heard me talk about this, but when I read this, that was what kind of started the different thought process, because it wasn't about instant gratification. It was what I could do on a daily basis, even those seemingly small things that I know would add up to where I wanted to be in the future. So I'm sure you guys have heard the magic penny, right? If somebody came to you and said, would you rather have $3 million right now, or would you rather have a penny that doubles on itself every day for 30 days? Most people would say, yeah, give me the 3 million. Terry Brown's looking at me right now saying, give me that 3 million. Okay? I know he's thinking that. So which would you choose? If you've heard this before, the penny gambit is a choice you should make. You know it's the course that will lead to greater wealth. Yet why is it so hard to believe that choosing the penny will result in more money in the end? Because it takes so much longer to see the payoff. Okay? So day one, let's say you and your friend go in on this deal. Your friend took the million. You decided to wait it out and see what happens. So you took the penny. So day one, your friend's got $3 million and you have 1 cent. Okay? So don't go spending it all in one place, but watch as time goes on. Day two, that friend probably doesn't have that same million. You have 2 pennies. Okay? On day 5, you've got 16 cents. On day 10, it's grown to a whopping $5.12. Okay? Your friends out there spending their millions, and you're sitting there with a little bit more than what you can buy at
This is just doubling.
Wendy's.
Doubling it.
Doubling on itself every day. After 20 full days with only 11 days left, Penny Lane has $5,243. So 20 days in, 2/3 of the way there, and that person has $5,000. Okay? Then the invisible magic of the compound effect starts to become visible. That same small mathematical growth improvement Each day makes the compounded penny worth $10,737,418.24 on day 31, more than 3 times what the other person had. In this example, we see what consistency over time is so important. On day 29, your friends got their 3 million, and you with a penny has around 2.7 million. It isn't until day 30 of this 31-day race that you pull ahead with 5.3 million. And it isn't until the very last day of this month-long ultra marathon that you blow your friend out of the water with over $10 million. So it's not about the ultimate goal. I think when we're talking about things we want to accomplish, you want to make sure that you have those things in mind. And I'll teach you how to do that with what I have prepared. But what's more important are the small things that you can accomplish on a daily or weekly basis that will add up to where you want to be come December of next year. Okay? If you're standing at the base of Mount Everest and you're thinking about climbing it, and you're looking up at how much ground you have to cover, your mind is going to tell you that you're not going to get that done. And if all you were focusing on was the peak, every step is a failure until you get there. But if you focus on the next step, one more step, eventually you're going to find yourself at the peak of the mountain, and it's likely going to happen a lot sooner than you were probably first imagining. So I want to share one more story from this book, which really kind of shows what the small things will do over time. Okay? Let's take 3 buddies who all grew up together. They all live in the same neighborhood with very similar sensibilities. Each make around $50,000 a year. They're all married and have average health and body weight, plus a little bit of the dreaded marriage flab. Friend number 1, let's call him Larry, plods along doing as he's always done. He's happy, or so he thinks, but he complains occasionally that nothing ever changes. Friend number 2, Scott, which it really does say that in the book, by the way, starts making some small, seemingly inconsequential positive changes. He begins reading 10 pages of a good book per day and listens to 30 minutes of something instructional or inspirational on his commute to work. Scott wants to see changes in his life but doesn't want to make a fuss over it. He recently read an interview with Dr. Oz in Success magazine and chose one idea from the article to implement in his life. He's going to cut 125 calories from his diet every day. No big deal. We're talking maybe a cup of cereal less, trading that can of soda for a bottle of seltzer, switching from mayo to mustard on a sandwich. Doable. He also started walking a couple thousand extra steps per day, which is less than a mile. No grand acts of bravery or effort, stuff anybody could do. But Scott is determined to stick with these choices, knowing that even though they're simple, he could also easily be tempted to abandon them. Friend number 3, Brad, makes a few poor choices. He recently bought a new big screen TV so he can watch more of his favorite programs. He's been trying out the recipes he's seen on the Food Channel. The cheesy casseroles and desserts are his favorites. Oh, and he installed a bar in his family room and added 1 alcoholic drink per week to his diet. Nothing crazy. Brad just wants to have a little bit more fun. At the end of 5 months, no perceivable differences exist among Larry, Scott, or Brad. Okay, and that's important to know. Scott continues to read a little bit every night and listens to audios during his commute. Brad is enjoying life and doing less. Larry keeps doing as he always has. Even though each man has his own pattern of behavior, 5 months isn't long enough to see any real decline or improvement in their situations. In fact, if you charted the 3 men's weights, you'd see a rounding error of 0. They look exactly equal. At the end of 10 months, we still can't see noticeable changes in any of their lives. It's not until we get to the end of the 18th month that the slightest differences are measurable in these 3 friends' appearances. But at about month 25, we start seeing really measurable, visible differences. At month 27, we see an expansive difference, and by month 31, the change is startling. Brad is now fat, while Scott is trim. By simply cutting 125 calories a day in 31 months, Scott lost 33 pounds. Okay, so 31 months, he actually maps it out, which I think is important to show. 31 months is 940 days. 940 days times 125 calories a day means he cut out 117,500 calories. Divide that by 3,500 calories a pound, and that's 33.5 pounds right there. Brad ate only 125 more calories a day in that same time frame and gained 33.5 pounds. Now he weighs 67 pounds more than Scott, but the differences are more significant than weight. Scott's invested almost 1,000 hours reading good books and listening to self-improvement audios. By putting his newly gained knowledge into practice, he's earned a promotion and a raise. Best of all, his marriage is thriving. Brad? He's unhappy at work and his marriage is on the rocks. And Larry is pretty much exactly where he was 2.5 years ago, except he's a little more bitter about it at this point. The phenomenal power of the compound effect is that simple. The difference between people who employ the compound effect for their benefit compared to their peers who allow the same effect to work against them is almost inconceivable. It looks miraculous, like magic or quantum leaps. After 31 months or 31 years, the person who uses the positive nature of the compound effect appears to be an overnight success. In reality, his or her profound success was the result of small, smart choices completed consistently over time. Now, I'm not
Can I
going
say
to...
something? This is what she does every morning is she reads and listens to tapes for the last couple of years.
Yeah. And
So-
she got promoted to partner
Yeah,
tonight. So,
yeah.
I mean, there you go.
So it works.
Right there, that's how it
I
works.
don't, but she does. Sorry.
So what I loved about what Chase mentioned was the urgency that we take to it. Because when you look at the idea to have no time to waste, that's where your priorities are set in what you want to really accomplish. Before I set out on that fitness journey, I sat down with a doctor who looked at me and said, I did my blood work with him, and she was like, if you keep doing what you're doing, your arteries are going to fail you, and you're probably not going to live to see your kids grow up. And I was like, okay, well, you got my attention. Tell me what I need to do. And the difference was, she said, if you follow everything I'm telling you to do, we can reverse that and we can get you where you want to be. So sometimes your island has to be blown up a little bit, but you also have to have somebody there willing to hold your hand and show you every step of the way how to get out of where you are and get to where you want to be. So I knew that it was a one-time decision that I was going to accomplish that physique that I was looking for. And once I made that one-time decision, everything else was pretty simple after that. And there was definitely temptation. There was definitely things where I was like, I don't want to get up early and go to the gym before we go to the office. I don't want to eat the chicken and broccoli for the 1,000th time when I've been doing it for the last couple months. There are definitely going to be days like that, but that's not an excuse to not do it. And I knew that anything that I gave up was going to keep me off track. I took the compound effect as a promise that if I keep doing what I was setting out to do, that eventually it was going to happen. And I work in absolutes. I like the idea of if this happens, then this happens. So if I keep doing it, it's going to happen eventually. And it didn't matter how much time it took. All I knew that if I took a day off, it's going to take that much longer to get there. And that wasn't something I was willing to give up. So when it comes down to it, it's about what you can accomplish on sometimes an hourly, but mostly a daily and weekly basis. Okay, so when you're thinking about those days when it's really cold outside and it seems like it's been snowing since Thanksgiving and you don't want to get out of bed because you have to drive in that crap as it's falling from the sky, remind yourself of what's pushing you versus what's pulling you. Okay? There's two types of motivation. Something's going to push you and something's going to pull you. Okay? Now keep in mind what's pulling you is much more sustainable and much more motivating. I'll actually put it that way. Let your reasons be the things that pull you. Okay? So it's one thing to set a goal and say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Okay? That's what's pushing you. That's a pushing goal, is losing 20 pounds, because it's not necessarily as motivating as you want it to be. But if you're saying, I want to qualify for Hawaii and walk around with my shirt off, if you're a guy, if you're a girl, you probably can't do that. That's going to be more pulling motivation. envisioning yourself out on the beach, looking the way you want to look, is a pulling motivation. Okay? So, reasons come first, answers come second. Let the reason be the thing that pulls you forward to your goal. Things that push you require willpower, and willpower won't always be there. So I had to think about that conversation I had with the doctor, and that was what pulled me back to the gym, back to that meal that I prepared, not going out to eat, not getting the desserts, etc. Okay, so when you're setting your goals, I think a lot of times people naturally lean towards outside sources for what's going to determine what they can accomplish. When somebody sets off on accomplishing something here, a lot of times it's different than what most people are used to. And when you're doing something different than what most people are used to, those that aren't willing to do it with you are going to try and pull you back into the comfort zone, okay? But remember that those aren't reasons why you didn't accomplish your goal, okay? If you think about all your negative relatives or friends, if you think about them all suddenly turning positive, what difference would that really make in your future? Okay? What if prices came down a little bit? What if inflation eased off a little bit? How much difference would that make with your goals? Not much. Right? What if the economy gets a little bit better? How much difference does that make? Not much. Right? What if there's a leadership change in the White House? What difference does that really make?
Do something.
Not much. Right? If you don't make plans, you'll eventually find yourself in somebody else's plans. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much.
Yeah.
Okay, so good news, you don't have to run your goals by anyone for approval. You do not have to qualify for a goal or a dream. We let people dictate how we feel about ourselves and what we want to accomplish, but they're not in the trenches with you. Okay? They're not paying your bills. Their opinion doesn't matter. You don't need anyone to check off your goals. There's no ceiling to what you can accomplish. So, if you feel like you can achieve it eventually, then nothing else matters. Here is the simple formula to getting what you want to get out of life, okay? I want you guys to write this down because it is my compartmentalization of how my mind works. Okay? Nothing worth having comes easy. And you don't grow when you're comfortable. So, well, actually, I would add a third to that. Progress equals happiness.
What was the second one?
You don't grow when you're comfortable. So life is either hard because you're leaving your comfort zone, you're doing something uncomfortable, and you're growing because of it, or life is hard because you stayed in your comfort zone too long, and you stopped progressing. When you stop, the third one? Progress equals happiness. Progress equals happiness, okay? There's an argument that could be made that a lot of athletes don't know what to do once they win a championship. The what if mentality comes in, right? What now? What do we do now? But what you can actually do is find joy in the journey. Okay, that is where your happiness is going to come from, when you see yourself progressing. When you're looking at those old pictures of yourself and saying, hey, I don't look like that anymore. I'm starting to see a little bit of difference. That's awesome. That's where you're motivated. That's where you'll spend all day in the gym. But the opposite is when you're not progressing. When you feel like you're stuck, when you're damned, as the Bible will say, you're not progressing anymore. And that's where the ultimate unhappiness comes from. So look for opportunities to grow. Just don't be surprised when they look like work or uncomfortable situations. When you're growing is when you are happy. Okay? Success as a decision has nothing to do with any outside circumstances. Don't spend another year doing the same thing. Get serious about your goals, get serious about your dream life, and get serious about yourself and your position with this opportunity in this company right now. So, I'll leave you with a few steps of how to set your goals. Go into it, write everything down, and take the lid off. Don't sell yourself short on what you can accomplish in these next 12 months. And don't you dare set goals based off of what you didn't do this year. And you might as well not set them at all if that's the way you're going to think about it. You cannot sell yourself short. Rod, a question for you. If I were to go into a client and tell them, here's what this product has done the last 10 years, and therefore this is what it's going to do the next 10 years, how quickly would I get a phone call from you scolding me about that?
Ideally, as you're leaving the house.
Rod sees everything, and he knows what you're saying in your meetings. Your past performance does not predict your future performance. Okay? So whatever happened last year, focus on the things you accomplished and build on that. Do not focus on the things you didn't accomplish, because then you're automatically going backwards at that point. You wouldn't tell your clients that. Don't tell yourself that when you're setting your goals. Break it up into 4 categories. Focus on spiritual, intellectual, physical goals, business goals, family goals. Look for the end result, but remember the little steps that will get you to where you want to be. Make sure that it is compelling and emotional to you. We've shared our examples of our affirmations. I won't read the whole thing, but this is something that Tasha and I read at least twice a day. I read it when I'm warming up at the gym. We read it on the way to the office. We read it before we go to sleep at night. We will have blank new associates added to the team, blank per month, and a minimum of blank new partners. Our agents are on fire, they're making good money, and their businesses are taking off through our example. We will be patient with the team, believe in them, and stay positive while teaching them how to push themselves to a level they've never reached before. Our belief stays high, our excitement reigns true, and our motivation to push ourselves past our threshold and into a new one rapidly is unlike anyone else. We set the pace, we break the barriers, and we fight for our dreams and goals. We have no time to waste. We know exactly how to help our team and what to say to keep them growing. We have the guidance of the Lord on our side. We're put in this place right now to lead these people on our team and to set an example for what can be accomplished. We're consistent, relentless, and unwavering in our goals and drive towards accomplishing our biggest achievement yet. We're hungry, on fire, and attract the right people to our business. When it comes to our recruiting pitch, if you want first place, come play with me. If you want second place, go somewhere else. Everyone we meet with is impacted by how we treat them, and we want to leave the wood pile higher than we found it. They feel that we're different, we're focused, we're hungry, and we're ready to help them reach their goals. It's our duty and obligation to make sure everyone we meet with feels that. It's our time for our launch. We're dream sellers. Our appointments stick, our closing ratio is blank or higher. We're bold and as confident as we've ever been while helping each client feel cared about. We know that people buy us before they buy the product, and we make sure to do our best to connect with everyone we meet with. We go the extra mile, take action on everything that comes to mind. We're focused, and we make calls every week to our follow-ups and our tap rates. When one appointment reschedules, we remain focused and make calls to get 3 set for the one that just fell through. We continue to keep our team focused and excited. Our agents are winners. They win each contest with the company with our help, keeping them focused. We're guided on what to say and how to handle each meeting to the best of our abilities. Our routine is near perfect, and we grow together. We enjoy every moment we're in, and we make the most of it by having a planned date night once a month and spending more time with our family. We take the time to soak up every moment we're in every area of life, and enjoy where we're at. It all starts with a vision. No one says no to us. Our fire is contagious. We're constantly at our best to attract the right people to our business. So, this is your year. This is it. Right now, it's that time to make that one-time decision and never look back. You're in complete control of how 2023 plays out. For things to change, you must change. If you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep having the same thing. So if you want something different, do something different. Focus on what you can control and find the little things you can do on a daily or weekly basis that will add up to your goals by this time next year. Nothing can stop you but you. This is your time. This is the big leagues. And this is your year. Go get it.
So good. I got pages worth of notes already. I'm very excited to be bringing up this last closing speaker. None of us would be here today without him. I'm very grateful for the example that he has set for me and all of us, really, but me specifically in my life and in so many aspects. And it's obviously for us today, especially in the business. I'm gonna kind of not go too much more because again, I don't want to get too emotional today. So we'll bring up a standing ovation for none less than the CEO, Scott McFlip.
I gotta say, you guys are good, man. I mean, this has been as good as I've ever been to. You know, you listen to a podcast, isn't any better than those speakers that we've already heard. And I love you getting emotional as you're reading those goals. Isn't that what it's all about? When you read it, it should stir you inside. If it's not stirring you inside, you didn't write them down right yet. Okay? It should stir you inside, get you passionate and emotional about your goals. Let me ask you a question. Do you think it's possible to practice every day something, practice, and not improve? Do you think it's possible?
Only if you're practicing the wrong way.
Even if you practice the wrong way, do you think you're still going to improve?
Mm-hmm.
I know people that completely shoot a basketball wrong. I did for many years of my life. Growing up, I shot a two-hand shot, and I got to where I was making it all the time. I didn't know I was shooting wrong, but I got better and better and better. So, if it's true that if you practice all the time, and you can't help but get better, wouldn't that be a truth? It's a truth then. It's a truth that if you practice, you'll get better. And it works the same way in your business. As you practice, you'll get better. If your closing ratio isn't good, you keep going. So I said to Tasha, I don't know what to tell you. Keep going. There's not some magic thing. There's some ideas you might throw out to somebody to help them. But at the end of the day, I can teach someone how to shoot a perfect free throw in basketball, right? And when I first teach them, they're probably going to not even draw iron. They're going to miss. It's an air ball. But if they keep shooting, they'll probably start hitting the rim. Pretty soon they'll start making more than they were missing. What changed? Do they know what actually changed? No. There's not like a deciding thing. It's just practice and practice and practice and practice. No matter what it is you're doing. It's practice, right? So that's a truth. That if you practice, you get better. Okay? It's kind of like 2 + 2 = 4, right? It's a truth. Here's the thing. You're supposed to win. You understand? This life, you're supposed to win. You're not supposed to fail, that although failing is part of winning, okay? But you're supposed to win. Now, I'm going to tell you a story, and this is a true story. This happened to me and my wife. And I want you to know, we're never alone. You're not alone. And this will help tell that story just a little bit, okay? So as you set your goals, you and your spouse, you by yourself, whatever, you're still not alone. Back in 2000, my wife and I started building a nice big custom home in Highland, Utah. Okay? 10,000 feet, 1.5 acres, beautiful river in the front yard, big oak trees in the back. It was a dream location. It was awesome. We started building this house, and it took a year to build. And while we're building it, I'm going through a lot of self-doubt, like, who am I to think I get to live here? Why do I think I'm okay in this place? I literally was uncomfortable with what we were doing. But it was one of our dreams, and it was a goal we'd been working for. we'd been striving towards, but I was having a really hard time with this. And as we're getting closer and closer, I spent a lot of time on my knees trying to find, why I should be okay with this. And I wasn't getting any answers. And I was having a hard time. Well, we did a lot of houseboating as a family. We had a houseboat at Lake Powell at that time. We had a trip coming up. And the week we're supposed to go, I get a phone call a few days beforehand from one of my houseboat partners that was just out there. And his little granddaughter,
Yeah, 2-year-old.
2-year-old granddaughter had just drowned on our boat. And we were like, we don't want to go out there right now. This is fresh. This just happened. It's not our granddaughter, but hey, this is one of our partners, good friends. And we thought, let's do something else. We have the time off. Let's do something else. So we started thinking, okay, what are we going to do? We're not going to go to Lake Powell. We've got our family, an extended family. We're going to go do something. We said, well, let's go camping. We have some toys. We have some ATVs and equipment. Let's go camping. Okay, we're going to go camping. Where? Where are we going to go camping? Well, let's not go to the same place we always go. Let's go somewhere else. So where do we want to go? After talking about it and stewing over it for days, we finally came up with, okay, we're going to go to Current Creek, which is just past Strawberry in Utah, Strawberry Reservoir, for those that, around here know what I'm talking about. I'd heard my dad talk about Current Creek a lot, and I'd probably been there with him before growing up, but he passed away just before I turned 14, so hadn't been there in years. If I'd ever been there, I wasn't even sure. I just heard about it. So we decided that's where we're going to go. So we drive out to Current Creek, we get past Strawberry, take a left, and we drive 10 miles on this dirt road. We're just kind of looking around. Finally we go, hey, this looks like a good spot. Let's go here. So we pull in off to the left, and it was a nice, beautiful camping area. We could set up our trailers and everything. And as we're unloading, we didn't get everything unloaded, but we unloaded the ATVs, and we said, hey, let's go scout around. Tiffany's dad, Tiffany, and myself each jumped on a machine, and we took off up this dirt road while everybody else is still kind of getting things unpacked. We go up the road, and the very first little off turn, we take that one. Tom, Tiffany, me, okay? And we take this little off turn. We're going about, and we're passing thousands of aspen trees, okay? They're just everywhere. And we're going at about 35, 40 miles an hour, going at a pretty good clip. And all of a sudden, Tom's hat flies off. He stops, Tiffany stops, and I stop. And I'm waiting for him to go get his hat, and I'm just kind of sitting there looking around at all these aspens everywhere. Now, as we're in this location, I want you to remember, we're supposed to be at Lake Powell. We've gone to a location where none of us have ever been. We somehow stop at a 10-mile marker. We take the first jaunt. His hat flies off right at this very spot. If I'm 3 feet forward or 3 feet back, I'm not going to see what I just saw. Might not be able to see that very well, but I see a tree, a big aspen tree. And carved in it says Blaine Webb. That's my dad.
Woo.
Wow.
1975. I saw this. Immediately, I thought it was my brother. My younger brother's name's Blaine. And I said to Tiffany, I said, Blaine was here. He carved his name in here. I said, man, that's cool. And we didn't think twice, and we start driving again. We go about a block and I say, hey, hang on, hang on. I stopped everybody and we went back. My brother would have been like 1 or 2 years old. I said it wasn't him, this is my dad. And I really looked at this, and you see the capital W, there's a capital E, little b, little b. He did that all the time. Now I knew it was him. At that moment, immediately, I was overwhelmed with the feeling, we got you. We're here. We've been watching the whole time. Go for it. Continue building the house. It's good. That was the feeling I got as I saw that. It was an answer for me. We jumped on our ATVs, ran back, grabbed our 2 daughters. They were old enough to understand what was kind of going on, Kelsey and Tasha, to come to show the tree. As we see the tree, we go further back in, and we saw another 2 more further in. You couldn't see from the road that he'd carved on. We took that trip. I went back home and I called my sisters, 3 older sisters, and I told them what had happened. Impossible, right? Some say, oh, what a coincidence. Coincidence doesn't exist. I don't believe in coincidence. I really don't. Things happen for a reason. You're here for a reason tonight. Those online, you're online for a reason tonight. You're in this business for a reason. Okay? Everything happens for a reason. What you make of it is up to you. I told my sisters, one lives in Arizona, she flew in within a few days. We all jumped in our big SUVs, drove down to see these. We cut them. We cut them down as I'm taking it home. We weren't supposed to cut there. In fact, let me tell you the rest of the story. When we get back to camp, right after we did all this, we slept there that night. The next morning I get up and I look up the dirt road, and hiding behind a tree is a Forest Service guy. What do they call him? Ranger, Forest Ranger. He's hiding in his truck, like he's hiding. I can see him, right? But he thinks he's hiding. And I went over to Tom, and Tiffany's dad, and I said, he says, yeah, I'm gonna go up and talk to him. And he goes up there and talks to him. He says, you know, why are you sitting here watching us? He said, I'm just waiting to see when you take off on those ATVs, because you can't ride here. It's posted. We're not supposed to be there. We went into an area you can't ride. We ended up having to go another 7 miles up the road to finish our camping for the weekend. Great story, isn't it? About a year later, as I'm doing my meetings, doing what I was supposed to do, day after day, doing my appointments. By the way, that's how I met my wife, same way. That's how Tasha met her husband, same way. Doing appointments, doing what she was supposed to be doing in business. I met a guy named Dyke Ross Kelly. He became a client of mine. He was a, what do you call him? Sculptor, artist. I told him this story. He said, hey, bring that tree to me. I think I could carve something for you, make it kind of cool, turn it into an heirloom. I took it to him. He said, bring me a photo of something that I can use. So he turned this into a table. This is a table. We have a glass piece that goes on it now. And he carved this. That's me. With fish and stuff sitting on my dad's lap. I just want you to know, I don't care if you're religious or not, you're not alone. And you're supposed to win. So as you set your goals and you go for it, know you're not alone. Go after it boldly. You're supposed to win. Thanks.
Awesome. I get emotional every time he tells that story. So I'll be brief, but no, I love looking at this all the time. He's got the story typed up, and he has it sitting at the house. He has it sitting on the story typed up sitting on the table. So it's really cool. But I love listening to him speak, and I love that story. So I'll just kind of end it there. But no, let's. Make sure you get your goal set before the end of the year comes. Don't let the beginning of the year come without your goals being set for this next year. And in all 4 categories, like Mike talked about. Make sure you have them all set, and it'll just set the tone for the beginning of the year. And then just like Tasha set the example. Tasha and Mike set the example for us. Grab the bull by the horns and just go for it.